Welcome, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all of the above. Um, here's welcome back to another YouTube video of mine about social studies pace. My social studies pace. I the during these videos, I teach what I learn. So, this is for my school. We have to make a couple of these videos. But yeah, so here's what I learned. So continuing from the last video, we learned about the Renaissance. The we learned about Renaissance, humanism, individualism, and other things. Yeah. So we ended with the decam. We ended with what was it again? What did we end? The Decameron is a collection of short stories about Italian life during the early Renaissance. So let's continue from that. Another important humanistic scholar was Lorenzo Valla. He was mainly interested in studying manuscripts of the classics. He was a pioneer of modern textual criticism. He was especially good in Latin. His fame rests in discovery that the so-called donation of Constantine, by which the Pope claimed all land of Western Roman Empire, was a forgery. The Pope also claimed supreme authority over all rulers or kings in Europe through this document. Valla carefully compared the language of the donation of Constantine with other manuscripts and found that Latin of the donation of Constantine could not possibly be from the 4th century, when the document was supposed to have been written. The language of this document was from the 8th or 9th century. This means that the papal claims to be supreme authority in the West were not valid. These claims of the Pope had been put forth for over 1,000 years. So, the most famous book on politics in Renaissance was by Niccolo Machiavelli. Niccolo Machiavelli. Niccolo Machiavelli. That's a fancy name. His book, called The Prince, was a handbook for the despots. Machiavelli advocated obtaining and keeping power by any means possible. Machiavelli advocated that such principles as justice and mercy should not be allowed to stand in the way of a ruler. The Renaissance art was very different from medieval art. Medieval art was concerned with pictures of biblical scenes, more idolized than realistic. Renaissance art, on the other hand, used non-religious themes and shows pictures of secular rulers as well as biblical scenes. So, yeah. So, Renaissance art began to use oil colors in painting instead of watercolors. This meant that painters could have longer to make the painting better, since oil does not dry as quickly as water. Renaissance art also tried to show more realistic scenes in some pictures. So, for example, here's one of the writers. Everyone knows him. Who doesn't know him? Like Leonardo da Vinci. One of the great men of Renaissance was Leonardo da Vinci. He was a universal genius because he was a genius, a painter, a sculptor, a mathematician, an engineer, an architect, and an inventor. So seven talents. That's amazing. Two of his great paintings are Mona Lisa and The Last Supper. Da Vinci also sketched some sort of flying machine, but that's not important. So, another great artist from the Renaissance was Michelangelo. His most famous work in painting was the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican in Rome. He worked on his series of large paintings for several years. He was also a great sculptor, doing such famous works as David, Moses, and the Pietà, a statue showing Mary mourning for the dead Christ. Another famous artist was the Renaissance. What from the Renaissance was Titan, Titian. Titian. He painted more than 100 pictures before his death at the age of 99. He, it's a sad thing, he painted more pictures than he could live. He was known for his realistic approach to his subjects. So I will continue the rest of this episode in the next YouTube video. So I hope you guys enjoyed so far. Click on the next video to learn more. Bye. Thank you.